K the Great.
Don't stop dancing to the music. Feel it till you lose it. No holding back, just do it. We came to party. Don't worry about a thing. Let's get it started. Don't interrupt my groove.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Mocha So Fly. And
Y'all already know. It's your girl House Sace, aka Yo Big Daddy.
and this is the Vodka and Cognac show. You already know it's going down. We are super freaking excited, and we're not going to go through a whole lot of melee because we got all kind of shit to talk about with our guests. Yeah. Mieko is a great friend of mine all the way back from high school. We haven't kept in touch like we should have over the years, but shit, grown people doing grown shit. Yeah. But we still love each other.
Look, speaking of high school, this Barbie on here talking about, hey girl. Barbie. Hey.
That is so funny. It's some people who I'm gonna remember all their faces, but the names, yeah, I'm terrible with names. But Mieko is a great friend. She is an amazing woman and human being, and she brings a lot of weight and just a lot of attention that is very much needed to not only the trans woman community, but just to the LGBTQIA. Is that all of them?
LMNOP. We are better known as the alphabet people.
The alphabet people.
Yeah, alphabet mafia.
Really, all of us. Just because she's one of the people who I feel like we're cut from the same cloth. You know what I'm saying? Good people, great energy, always really focused on uplifting the people who are around her, and definitely an inspiration. So anyway, without further ado, Mieko, everybody give it up for her.
Hey, clap,
And the
clap.
crowd
Thank
goes
you.
wild.
Very, very, very much. Thank you so much for having me.
We're excited to have you. We
I am
were
excited to be here.
before we hop into conversation, we were actually looking at a picture because all of us in 2015, some of you may know myself and B Swift used to do a show.
Salute.
Okay. It was called Grassroots Salute, and we were all on the same show with B Swift and Rachel and Niecy X and Alsace and
shout out
Mieko.
to Niecy
How
X.
amazing. 7 years later,
Yep.
just full circle.
Yeah.
We have grown. We're wiser, all of that. And I'm excited to have you here.
This is nice.
And I have 7 muscles. I grew those over the years. You can't see them, and I don't want to be judged.
Oh, well, that is so nice.
Can't stand it.
But I'm gonna just jump right into it. Can you tell the people more about you that don't know about who is Miss Mieko?
I am a transgender woman. And I don't normally say I am a transgender woman because people assume that transgender people are supposed to identify themselves as trans when they walk in the room. Let's eliminate that myth. We are women. We are regular people. And I'm Mieko. But I did do, and I do currently do a show called Transfusion with my daughter and co-host Pocahontas, who is right here on the live
Hey,
listening.
Pocahontas.
Everybody said, hey, Pocahontas. So we will be coming back with that soon. But, she's raising children over there, raising a family. So we're taking our time, but we will be back. But we basically, anything that's happening with the trans community, first of all, let me say I will not be the Caitlyn Jenner. I'm not the face of transgender people. So what I say is not for all transgender people. Every transgender person is different as every woman in the world.
Yes.
We're all different. We all
Right.
think different. We all approach womanhood different, and that's just who it is. So I can't speak for everybody. What I speak for are people who think like me. You know what I mean? So that's all I can say about that. And I don't want anyone, because I know that a lot of what I say can be taken the wrong way.
Yeah.
especially now in this is sensitive situation
Right.
Yeah.
where there are people on both sides.
Yes, absolutely.
So I can, I sometimes what I say can be taken the wrong way, but I try to stay right in the middle because I understand both sides.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just for everybody listening, whatever I say is not intended to be offensive to my community, either not offensive to my cis community or my trans community. It's just to be fair.
Yes.
Okay.
I love that.
Well, we gonna start fair.
Yeah, let's talk. So let's hop into the hot topic. We might as well just start there and get that shit over with. And because of course in the news, Leah, I cannot remember her last name. Okay. Anyway, Leah, y'all know who we're talking about.
The
so
swimmer.
she is she's a trans woman swimmer. And they're what's being questioned is whether or not her swimming with and just so that we can have some, before we actually hop into the topic, let's get some, and I don't know if this would be political correctness or political incorrectness. So let's talk real quickly before we hop into the topic, just to educate our audience about some of these different terms that we're using.
Absolutely, because we were just talking about it, meaning, what does it mean to be cisgender? What does it mean to be transgender? What does it mean to be anything? So if you don't mind, the answer that you provided me earlier was amazing. So what does it mean, the difference between the two?
Now, first of all, I want to let everybody know, especially the cisgender people, that cisgender is not a term that transgender people or the LGBTQ made up to put on you. This is a medical term that separates trans people from people who are not trans.
Got it.
And basically, the reason why they did that is because what you would hear a lot is, I'm a trans woman, but I'm a real woman.
Right.
And so to avoid that, because we're real,
Yes.
what we're going through is real.
Absolutely.
What we feel is real. I know people think that it's probably a mental condition, it's something we're going through in our mind, but this is some hormonal shit that's happening to us at birth that makes us feel the way
Yes.
we feel. So
Right.
it's not
Absolutely.
like we're making it up.
Absolutely.
So we feel just as real. So to avoid that, the medical community came up with something to say, hey, this is trans. All that's not trans is this.
Okay.
Well, that makes sense considering that they did actually think that a woman needing to have an orgasm was a mental condition. So, I mean, it's a real thing if you were to look that up. So a lot of the times when men can't understand
make
what
shit
someone is going through,
Yes.
they create a mental condition. So
Yes,
instead of
absolutely.
addressing what you were actually going through, they wanted to put a sickness to it. So I kind
Right.
of understand.
And
that
thank
too.
God we are at least beyond that. I mean, to a degree, as far as hospitalizing people and putting people, actually taking their freedom because of it. And that's only in some places, because in some places,
It's still illegal.
women and men are just killed.
Yes.
And
Like there's still places that are literally killing, trans men and trans women, because of who they are.
yeah.
And which blows my mind, and it's of course sad and sickening, but
But let me cycle you back because we're gonna get on the violence piece of this.
yeah.
But my
That's a
question,
different topic.
and everybody's, and me and Sis's question right here would be, how do you feel about transgenders in the various different sports?
Yeah.
Okay, so my views on this are kind of complex because I agree with both sides.
Mhm.
Number one, because I live my life as a woman, I want to be in women's spaces. I go to women's restrooms. I look like this. I'm not going to go to a man's restroom. I go to the places where women go because I'm a woman.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is in places where, because I'm a pre-op trans woman,
Mm-hmm.
in places where vaginas are exposed, I know to either stay tightly wrapped or not be in those places.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because again, it's unfair to cisgender women in spaces that are supposed to be safe for them
Mm-hmm.
to get naked and to expose.
Yes.
For me to be in there, because like I said, there are women all around the world who have trauma with the penis
That's right.
and who don't want to be engaged with a penis and don't want to see one around them.
Right.
Right.
So when they go to a safe place for vaginas, that's what they expect, a safe place for vaginas.
Right.
And so, and where I stand on both sides is, some will say the women's restroom to me is not a safe place for vaginas. It's a safe place for women.
Absolutely.
And the reason why I say that is because people go into stalls.
Correct.
Vaginas aren't exposed. This is a private thing that you're doing. People aren't pissing in front of each other and shitting in front of each other. They're going into stalls.
Right.
So what I do in the stall is my business, just like what you do in the stall is your business. Therefore, we're not exposing our private parts.
Right.
Whereas the difference would be a locker room or a spa where ladies are getting naked
Mm-hmm.
and changing clothes and taking off clothes. To me, that's a safe space for females, for people who are born with vaginas. And I think that sometimes we as trans people ignore what is safe space for females because we're women.
Yeah.
And so we conflate the gender with the sex, not realizing that the gender is woman, the sex is female. And even though I'm a woman, my gender is woman, my sex is male.
Right.
But because I still fall under the woman category, I feel like I own that space.
Yeah.
And that's unfair because there has to be a safe space for everyone.
That's
to
right.
exist. And that includes females that are already here.
Yes.
That includes females that have. So we can't come in and say, I want you to respect me. And I also want your space, and I want you to respect that too.
Right.
Right.
And that's kind of
that
what
would be
I
unfair.
feel. Right, it's unfair. And I think that's kind of what some of this movement has started to do.
Right.
Now, I feel that if you live your life as a woman and you are taking the necessary... Okay.
Slow it down.
We got to
and
get
us
into
together.
it.
I
These
don't wanna
hormones.
I don't want to say taking the necessary steps to live as a woman because here's the thing.
Okay.
To be transgender is simply to understand and identify
Okay.
that you are feeling different than the opposite sex. To be transsexual is to actually transition physically.
Okay. Hey, I understand choosing your
she's
words.
pausing
I understand.
to make
So-
sure she says it correctly.
Yeah.
In my mind,
Right.
you are completely within your right to be transgender and feel how you want to. Even in some cases, in women spaces. However, I feel that if you are going to ask for female spaces, spaces that include the vagina, you should be transsexual. You should be transitioning physically, hormones or whatever, to make your body more female and make your body more comparable to the people you're competing against. Now, people will argue with me and say, well, what about track? Remember there was a young African woman
And they wouldn't, and she was a female,
and she was a female, born female.
but her testosterone levels
Yeah.
were,
Yeah, I
so they
remember
say, that of a
Sure.
man.
Yeah.
And they would not let her run.
They wouldn't let her
Right.
run. They wouldn't let her run. And so people will argue with me and say, well, you can't say that, female bodies are less or weaker or there's an advantage a male body has over a female body because then you have and they'll point to the female like that.
Yeah.
But what I need people to understand is
not the norm.
that is not the rule. That's the exception.
That is the
Right.
exception.
Every now and then there will be a female that's just like every now and again you will get a male that's born exceptionally feminine and has,
Period.
you know what I'm saying? But that's not the rule.
That is not the
And
rule.
what we're setting tone for is for the general, the base of
the
what's
rule,
happening.
yeah.
And that's the general,
Yes.
the average.
Right.
And so I think that because let me tell you something. I get that there are some tall women out there. I've seen some 7-foot tall women out there.
Right.
I get it. But when you see a 6'4" woman, trans woman, and you've seen the picture of her standing next to the gold
Yes.
medals.
Did.
When you see the difference in that,
Yes.
you can see that there's clearly
A physical.
difference.
There was a physical advantage.
Let me tell you something. Even if it ain't the fact the child is 6'4" and can jump a quarter of the length of the pool and be halfway down there by the time these girls get there, that's not even, question. Because again,
Because there are some tall.
yeah, there's some tall females,
Right.
but even then, the stature, her width, the way she was standing there, you can tell
her
she's
arms,
just
She fresh on the
Now.
hormones.
now, now also let me say this. She'd been on hormones for maybe a couple of years, maybe. Okay. And so she did decrease in hormone levels. And let's not say that she got into the women's competition and instantly started winning, because that's not what happened. She's also lost.
Yeah, she's
some
lost a
competition.
lot.
She's lost a lot. But she's still able to place much higher in the women's competition than she was in the men's.
Right.
And maybe, and that's even with the depleted muscle mass, because she has been taking hormones and she has been depleting her muscle mass. But again, even in that instance, I think that it's only fair to implement height and weight classes. Right. Like if
this is what we're gonna do, and this is the world we live in, let's take some measures to make it actually fair
There
for
you go.
everyone.
So even if her body and muscle mass is depleted, she's still swimming against women who are 6'4", who are her height, who weigh about the same, and it'll still be an even match.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
If this is what we're gonna do, let's just do it
Either that,
fairly.
or let's just create a trans league.
Yeah.
A trans.
I would agree with that more.
League.
I'm sorry. I'm with that more. With the
I still feel like, and this is just me, of course, not being in that situation. So of course I don't know how it would feel. But what about the possibility of people who are having they basically have the same type of muscle mass or testosterone level as a man, and take a trans woman who has the same whatever as a man, right? And why not still compete against the same
Let me tell you
problem-
something.
Go ahead.
Y'all know? Have you heard of Fallon Fox?
No.
She's a trans woman. She is a professional fighter, and she fights in the women's league. She's had her ass kicked by some of the women,
I believe it.
but she's also won some.
Right.
But now when she wins, it's unfair.
But when she loses,
When she loses, you don't hear anything about it.
so it's kind of like a double-edged sword.
Right.
You damned if you do, damned if you
Now,
don't.
mind
Yeah.
you, she's taking hormones to decrease her muscle mass, but she's fighting against women who are actually bulking up to fight.
So,
See what I'm saying?
so it's kind of even match.
Right, it's kinda- they
even
really
even
trying
in
to-
that, even that, we're looking at that's a weight class thing, because when you
Yeah.
fight anyone, you have to be.
It
It,
is a
has
weight
to be
class
fair.
thing.
Exactly. And I think that it can all be that way. I think that if transgender people are going to be introduced into sports, it should be not only a hormone thing, because there should be a level of hormones to make it fair, but I also think it should be a height and weight class, so
That
that
makes sense.
everybody who's competing against each other are fit to compete against each other. They look like they could be, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm
agree.
sorry, I appreciate the fact that she won, but looking at that picture with her and the silver and the gold, I'm sitting there looking at them like, I have arguments with mainly black cisgender females, but I have arguments with females that tell us that get the impression that transgender women don't like them and we hate them and we're not on the same side. And it irritates me because I love cisgender women. I love, that's the clan I feel like I'm a part of. And one of the reasons why they have a problem is because they think that we're trying to replace them. And I've always thought to myself, well, we can't possibly replace you. You have something we don't have. You can do things that with your body we can't do. There will always be a need for you as long as there's a need to reproduce. So, I mean, how can we replace you? But then I start seeing things like Caitlyn Jenner getting the Woman of the Year. And I thought, well, damn, how did that happen?
Yeah.
And she just became a woman 2 seconds ago. But now she's the Woman of the Year. And I thought, and then I was looking at all the other, the ones that were up against her. And I thought, how the fuck did that happen?
Politics.
But then it makes you think.
Yeah,
Well,
it is.
Politics.
but then you see something like this, and you see this this lady who's just become a lady, who's competed most of her life as a man.
Yeah.
And now it's just becoming a lady.
Yes.
And she's all of a sudden winning gold medals. And it seems like, whereas I always thought, whereas people always thought that this transgender thing would, and they would tell me that this was agenda, and I would fight back and say, how the fuck is me trying to live my life an agenda? I'm just trying to get rights and do. But then when I see stuff like this, it makes me think, well, are we stepping over our boundaries? Is this an agenda? Are we trying to push for something that it makes me confused?
It's God. It's
I
so
got a
much.
question,
It's so
though.
much to think about. Like,
Well, I got a question. Since you know the steps, right? When would you think that it's okay for a transgender male or female to start to compete in these? And at what point in their transition is it safe? Is it fair? Is there a point, or is it just all of this is going to be individually based?
Have y'all heard too much news about trans men trying to break into sports who can't because of this issue? One of the reasons is because trans men will take their testosterone. They will do their regimens. They will beef up and try to get into the weight and height class that they're. We, on the other hand, are the only ones that feel like we can just jump on in there once we decide we're women.
Wow.
And it's like, do we take the steps or do we not? I mean, you have to do the work, just like you have to do the work to become a woman. Let me tell you something. I came from the generation where if you went your ass in a women's restroom and you had some stubble on there and you wasn't quite fishy enough, they was gonna look at you, laugh your ass out of there, and you gonna have to come back when you fished it up. We live in an era nowadays where it's all about the identification, and the minute I say that I'm a woman, the minute I say I feel like a woman, whether I have a whole beard on my face or not, I'm a woman. And the minute I say I'm a woman, now I own all the women's spaces. And that's unfair. It's just unfair. And it makes it look like this is an agenda. And I want to steer away from that, because this is not an agenda. It's people actually trying to live our lives and actually trying to be in society and actually trying to be accepted and actually trying to be loved and not killed. But when we overstep, it makes people who already don't agree push harder in the other direction.
yeah.
Which is why we don't get anywhere.
And let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that, and we'll try to hop into some other more positive conversations. But we have to talk about the disparity, particularly for trans women, trans Black women. The amount of violence, that is faced, the amount of
The amount of names that
people who are
that don't get spoken.
And they don't get spoken.
Let me just
on
say
top of
that who I just showed you, the picture I just showed you.
Yes.
Katrina Turner's listening right here. Hi, darling.
Hi, Katrina.
Hi, Miss Katrina.
So, tell a little bit about her story real quickly, if she doesn't mind.
It's Katrina. I've given just a little bit, but if you don't mind, Katrina was recently shot in the head.
Wow.
Point
She
blank.
survived it. And
Wow.
she's here talking to us now.
We are glad to have you with
2
us.
days ago?
Wow.
Oh my God, that is such a blessing that
Just
she's
shot
still
in the
here.
head by a young man who she's seen grow up. She has videos of him being 11 years old, whose mother she knows and sister she knows, and he just shot her out of, and the police said it was a hate crime. We don't know. She doesn't even know why this happened, but she's one of the very few people who lived and is able to point him out and say, yeah, he did that.
Right,
Wow.
right. How do you? What would you say?
Where's the
What are
hatred
some?
coming from?
Where? I mean, we know. I feel like we know. A lot of the hate is just the bigotry and the homophobia and all this other, fear-based stuff
It
that
gotta
stems
be-
from
it gotta
ignorance.
It got to be even deeper than that in some cases, because I mean, I hate a lot of things, but I don't want to hurt nobody because I hate those things.
Well, I mean,
Like,
it's something
you know,
within people.
why are we?
Is what I would
It's got
guess.
to. It's a little bit deeper than hate,
Mm.
because hate. You can. I mean, like you say, you can hate a lot of things, but it's the kind of hate that touches you personally, which means that
It's in
that
them.
hate stemmed from somewhere. That
Right.
hate came from an event or something that has happened to
Or
you.
something that you're masking is
or
what I'm
something that
saying.
you're masking, something that you're trying to hold down. So it's
So
something.
you hate your fucking self.
Right. So
Right.
that hate is rooted very deeply somewhere, but they have a problem figuring it out.
Yeah. But what would you say about just safety? How do you feel? What I'd like to know is how do you feel about, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, you shouldn't have to walk into a room and say, hey, I'm a trans woman. When you are, because a lot of these situations, some of them, of course, don't, but some of them stem from being in situations or relationships with people. And sometimes it's one of those situations where just later on they snap, right? They're in these relationships with these trans women for a long time. And then, they just snap on them. But what would you say as far as dating goes? Like, should trans women, have to divulge that information if they're dating a man that doesn't necessarily know that they're a trans woman? Or
she said
okay,
So-
I want to get
She
into
said
this.
up.
Because
Do
again,
you think that has anything to do with some of the violence?
it's a lot to say because again, I've sat recently on some panels with some, dare I say, Black Israelites that weren't too fond of
Shit!
trans people, and so there were some conversations
fond
we've
of no
had.
damn buddy.
Right, we've had several conversations, and so one of the conversations was that trans people owed them our information.
Oh,
These
wow.
were these were cisgender men saying that we owed them our information. And now this is the actual conversation I had with somebody.
Okay.
A cisgender man on this woman's panel.
Oh,
she's
wow.
she's a cisgender woman, and she's a Black Israelite, and she was hosting this panel about trans people, and because she claims she's an ally, but she's absolutely not.
Got
and
it.
so she let these men come up here and talk at us and talk. So this is the conversation I had with them. If I come up to you and I'm asking you for your number and shit, and you don't tell me what's going on, then I look like a fool. And I told him, I said, well, if I told you, if I'm not interested, then I don't owe you my information. Yeah, but what if I'm pressing you and all that? I'm trying to get out.
Fucking God.
I'm trying.
So
I said,
his,
but
You being rapey.
his ignorance is your problem.
Right. I
now.
said, so wait a minute.
Come on, man, that's
Because-
stupid.
I said, because you got hard looking at me, I all of a sudden owe you my information. I
That's
said
what
so
that
because
motherfucker said.
I said because you're attracted, whether I am or not. Because you're attracted, I owe you my information. Even though I told you no, and that was your clue to get the hell out of my face.
No doesn't
You
mean
said
no.
press. So you just kept on going even though I told you no. That's what made you look like a fool. Not the fact that I'm a transsexual, but the fact that you keep pressing a woman that don't
That
want
already
you.
said no.
It ain't got nothing to
You
do with
rapey.
being trans.
you rapey,
that's
and now it's my
been a
problem.
problem. That's been a problem.
But you'd be surprised how many men think that just because they find us attractive, that now we
you
owe
owe
them
them.
our information.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's a problem that we run across all the time. And the fact of the matter is, until I feel like you're somebody I'm going to sleep with, you don't need to know what's between my legs.
And there you have it.
And that's just it. And because even attractions happen all the time. You might look at somebody and find them attractive. That doesn't
Right.
mean that you're going to be with them.
Correct.
You could be there just to have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I could be there just to have the conversation. I could be there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to turn you on. I'm here for a reason. We're having conversation.
Yeah.
So regardless of whether you're turned on or not, that has nothing to do with me. That's something
Correct.
you're going to have to get under control yourself.
That's in your own. That's on you.
That has nothing to do with me. I'm here to talk. And if you want to have this conversation, we can have it. But it's not about anything sexual. And if it's sexual for you, that's your problem. But it's not
Correct.
sexual for me. So I'm not going to tell you my business because it's sexual for you.
Right.
So how do you keep yourself safe from these positions? You know, because it's incredibly hard to do.
something. I was hit in the eye in a club. I don't know if you made Toya. Me and her went out to a club. Me and her went to a club. Me and Toya went to a club. And me and her reconnected after high school. And,
Okay.
and we saw each other. It's like, hey, girl. And we decided to go
Okay,
out.
so how long ago was this?
This was probably about 10, 15 years ago.
Okay.
Okay.
So, but me and her hooked up and we, hey girl. So we decided to go to a club. Now, I was there. I was dancing we were dancing on the dance floor. It was kind of like a swingers club a little bit. But I was on the dance floor with Toya, and I was dancing on Toya because I didn't want any of the men to bother me.
Yes.
So I wanted to appear, of the lesbian persuasion. So this one guy was looking at me and he was a big old dude, and he was looking at me from across the dance floor, and he kept saying, "What's up? What's up?" And I kept ignoring him and dancing with Toya.
Yeah.
So he sent a messenger to me to ask me, "Why are you ignoring my cousin?" And I said, "Well, cousin doesn't know I'm trans." He said, "Oh, okay." So he went on over, and I watched this happen. I watched him tell his cousin that I was trans, and he, in turn, looked at me and said, "I don't care."
Oh shit. Okay.
Now,
Okay.
Where is this finna go?
We gotta pause.
Now.
Hold on. We gotta pause. We gotta pause. We gotta pause. We gotta pause.
he looks at me, "I don't care." Now, he did that in front of his cousin. And his cousin, when he said, "I don't care," and he's looking at me, his cousin started looking at him crazy. So his cousin then, and I watched this happen, walks over to the group of niggas that they came with and starts telling them what's going on. Only for them to come and surround him. And this whole little conversation starts happening amongst them.
So now it's
So I'm thinking this shit done blown
Ego.
off. Me and Toya decide we finna go sit down and have a drink. We go sit down at one of the tables for this whole crew of people to come stand right in front of me
Oh my God.
wow.
with him. And he says, "So you trying to tell me you a man?" I said, "I told you I was transsexual. I told your friend that." And he looked around and hit me in my eye.
Oh my God.
Now, mind you, this is a big old dude. And he ain't do nothing but knock off a lash. He ain't even, I flinched. I was like,
I can't stand your
I think
ass,
she
man.
more mad about the lash than anything. Like,
well, no, I was embarrassed. And
Yeah.
it pissed me off more than anything. It didn't hurt. It pissed me off because he said, and I said, and before I knew it, I had got up and grabbed the pool ball and tried to pop him upside his head.
Oh
And they
my
grabbed
God.
me and grabbed him. And they escorted him out. And, it was a big old ordeal because look at me. I'm tiny and he was a big old dude. And it looked like he was trying to attack a woman. And so they escorted his ass out quick than a motherfucker. And you know what I'm saying? But that's what happened. And I was trying to explain that to the guy that I was on that panel with that day. I said, it doesn't matter
He
whether we
upset
tell.
with you.
Right. It doesn't matter whether I tell my business or not.
Yeah.
I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't.
That's right.
If I don't tell you, it's me trying to trick you and I'm hiding it from you. If I do tell you, now you're embarrassed and you have to front for your homeboys. So where do I win? I'm damned if I do. And then the nigga on the panel gonna say, "Well, that's just the lot you chose. That's just your lot in life. You just gotta suck it up."
Wow.
well, I can see that
Wow.
there were two things that possibly happened, and probably a combination of both. Because I love y'all, my homeboys, for real, but some of y'all ain't the brightest motherfuckers on the face of this planet. So one thing that could have happened in that scenario is he said trans and he didn't know what the fuck
Now
that
that could've
meant,
been
right? He didn't know what
That
that meant.
could've been true.
But then the second thing that happens, which is a common occurrence, this is why you got in fights at school, you know what I'm saying? Because all of a sudden, I ain't have a problem with it, but then my
Right.
homeboys is in my corner like, yo, you just gonna let this,
Right.
and at that moment, now I have a point to prove, and so he
Right.
had a point to prove, but I still think he walked away to shit confused as fuck. I think he was in his car taking a shower later on that night, like, damn, I wish I would have got her number. Like,
Now, I'm going to take you to an older instance, which is a little bit more tragic. Me and my girlfriend, Lachey, on the transfusion show, me and Lachey, me and her both were part of a murder trial. Our
my
girlfriend, Tanisha, was killed.
Oh my goodness.
So one night, Tanisha wasn't somebody I saw all the time, but when we saw each other, it was like, "Hey, bitch!" and
Yeah.
we have a good time. So I saw her downtown this one particular time, and it was like, "Bitch, we gotta hang out tonight. We got to." So we end up kicking it. We decided we're gonna go out this night. We decided we're going to go to this club where you have to, where it was a lip syncing night. We're gonna have a drag competition. So we all got cute and went out there, and Tanisha was the only one at this time of us on Moan. So she'd grown little titties, and she was really she was beautiful. She was just as soft and just as pretty as she could be. And this night she was wearing a cute little sundress, and it was just she was just as cute as she could be. So as we were going to the headed to the club, we were headed to one of our girlfriends' house so that she could change. And on our way, we went through South Dallas, and we stopped at that crazy ass on Malcolm X, that crazy ass car wash. We pull on through there, and we see this nigga walking through the lot. And so she pulls up in there real quick, and he introduces himself. Now, mind you, I'm got a ton of makeup on, looking like a drag queen, got titties glued to my chest, and Brandy, she back there, she hadn't shaved, and she looking crazy. And Tanisha was the only one looking presentable that night. But she pointed to us, introduced, these my girlfriends, and told her tea, and he was cool. He was cool with everything, and he understood what was going on and was cool with everything. So she got his number or whatever. She got it. I think it was a pager. She got some kind of a number from him. Anyway, we end up going to the club that night, and he hit her up. So she hit him back, and he was like, hey, can you come get me? And can we spend some time? And can you bring one of your girlfriends, but bring one of the pretty ones, because I'm bringing one of my homeboys, and he don't know. So she's like, okay. So she asked me, I was like, no. And she asked Brandon. Brandon said, okay. And so Brandon went and then came back in about 30 minutes. She was like, no, girl, I changed my mind. I don't feel like that. So instead, Tanisha went and got the boys and went to her house where Lachey, the one that's on my radio show, was waiting, because her and Lachey were roommates at the time. So Lachey was in there getting ready. She wasn't ready yet. And so the little boy that they went and picked up, the guy that we met, his name is Mike.
Okay.
The boy that they picked up name was Smoke. So Smoke got out of the car. He went under the house to meet Lachey and see who, meet her. And Tanisha and Mike had a good conversation. They were just having a good conversation. Smoke went in the house, and Tanisha wasn't finished getting ready, and she was half naked. So when he walked in, he saw everything that was going on, and instantly started clowning. Oh, these some niggas, and these some niggas. But he calmed his clowning down enough to get hard and jack off while she was standing there trying to get ready.
Wow.
Now, after he did that, then they all go get back in the car. And at first, everything is quiet. And then as they get on the road, Smoke starts instantly clowning. You know these some niggas. You know you got us with these niggas and blah, 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 this and the other. And of course, Shay started going out, well, bitch, you just jacked up. What's your problem? You clearly don't have a problem. You know what I'm saying? And so it starts a big thing. Now, mind you, everybody's in the car going off, but Mike is sitting perfectly quiet and ain't saying nothing. And then all of a sudden he says, make the left and turn here and turn it onto Lamar Street. As she's turning, he pulls the gun out of his hoodie and pops her, and they think that she must have saw the gun because she went to open the door and popped her. The door open, and the car started rolling. She slowly slid out the car. Then he turned around and tried to shoot up the back seat, both his homeboy and Tanisha, and they both got out the car and hit it.
Wow.
He shot at them running down the street. When he couldn't get them, he turned around, saw Tanisha still moving, and shot her again in her face.
Well,
now, the first person who ran to the police and told what happened was Smoke, his homeboy, the one he was fighting for.
Wow.
That's what turned him in.
Wow.
Not Lachey, not us. His homeboy, the one he was fronting for, the one who
that's
jacked
why
off.
he felt so embarrassed because of somebody who clearly was enjoying himself and didn't really mind. So they really pumping each other up because they both are now embarrassed because they don't know what they homeboy finna think about them. Even though, and I think that's what blows my mind about it, is because nigga, you're attracted to a woman.
She looked like a woman. What's it? They like you looking at a nigga with a beard and looking at you looking at somebody with big old titties and a woman.
I mean, you're gonna have attraction everywhere. And like you said earlier, you could be attracted to whatever, but we still keep running into the issue with you ain't dealt with yourself enough.
And that's all it is.
And this is one of the things that I think as old school, whatever, as you mentioned, we come from a cloth. What happened? Oh, do you want to smoke?
Yes.
Oh. We had to pause for that. We here at Vodka and Cognac, we pause for libation. But what I will say, we come from a cloth where we figured out what we wanted to be. I went through whatever I had to go through to make sure, like, I'm comfortable in who the fuck I am and who else is gonna be around. And I'm gonna let you know, you're gonna look at some of these women, you are, and you're gonna like all of them. What you gonna do about it? Now, if you the violence that they're taking upon is where it's disgusting, and it's just she about to choke and die.
Look, that one of them little skinny girl blunts.
Yeah,
that was the real thing.
You smoking with a certified Cali chief over there.
Okay.
That's why when he asked me, do I want to smoke, I say no.
That nigga from Cali.
That was the real thing.
But it's just too much. It's too much fucking violence for niggas.
That is just so
first of all, it's so
fucking
much
sad,
discreetness that you can do, and I'm pretty sure it was different back then.
Mm-hmm.
But shit, we didn't have fucking live and all this shit where you could be exposed back then.
Yeah.
Now people can get exposed, and it's just becoming completely unsafe for you.
Only to find out after the man gets 42 sets of 40-year sentences and all this. He done been with several of our homegirls out here.
Wow.
And all of them know him.
Wow.
It's like, nigga, are you serious?
Well, he's in a
And he
place.
still snapped because his homeboy.
Because his
that place,
homeboy who
listen.
also fucks around and clowns you.
Listen, he is now in a place. he is now in a place where he can have his feel.
Right.
Literally.
Okay, so
Literally.
also, let me bring this to your attention. And this is what I want to say, and this is why I always say that my cisgender sisters who are listening, and me and my transgender sisters, the ones that are close to me, we always try to promote this, that we are in the same boat when
Yeah.
it comes to these men.
Yep.
We talk about them killing us, but these are the same men that will walk behind a female that won't give them their number and
Yeah.
will kill her
And blow
in front
their
of her
head off.
children. And so, and I point that out because y'all remember Malaysia.
Yes.
Malaysia Booker.
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
Remember Malaysia.
Okay, the guy who basically hit her with brass knuckles in her head behind her back and fought her, the one that went to jail for the hate crime, right?
Yes.
And the lawyer went and did all this big stuff to get him out, right? And he had all of these backers behind him. We went at that courthouse. It was females. That wasn't no motherfucking female. That wasn't no woman. He was just a nigga fighting a nigga. That was all this. Cut to 2 years later. Now he shot one of y'all, and now he's in jail for shooting one of y'all.
Wow.
Because he attacks femininity anyway,
Period.
regardless of what it is. And y'all don't see that. Y'all think, oh, he's just attacking a punk. But no, he was attacking someone who had breasts on her chest
Yeah.
and was living as a woman. And now he done killed one of y'all.
Yeah, how many times does our justice
Because
system get it
violence
wrong?
is violence.
They
at
get
the
it
end of the
wrong.
day. Like you said, the women, period, regardless. Women, period, face, an inordinate amount of violence from men in our homes, in our communities, like domestic violence. And of course, it's not just black men, it's men, period.
But it's also because all up and down the timeline, I will see for me trans men that are getting abused and violently
Absolutely.
beat
Yes.
Absolutely.
for some man trying to prove
Yes.
Right.
you're still a woman. Like,
Yes.
Right.
They won't
Yes.
even bothering you.
Yes.
Right.
They wasn't bothering you, and you came in.
That does happen. Yes, it does.
And I see these videos. It's heartbreaking.
Yes, it
It
does.
Where
is.
they're having to recover, and it's like, where is any trans person safe?
Yeah.
Because a lot of this is happening right as soon as they leave the club, right? So as you spoke, we go to safe places. All of us will go to a safe place, chilling at the club. Why are you fucking on the block? If you don't like
Right.
nothing that you see, male or female, why are you here?
Yep.
So how are you hurting one of us?
I have a trans brother. I won't name his name because I don't want to be. I'm gonna name a situation. I don't want him to think I'm telling his business. But he's been working at he was trying to get this new job and he had been working there for a couple of weeks. And one of the things is he had to take a physical. Mm-hmm. Now he doesn't usually. He's not because he's extremely passable. You see this man, you would never ever in your wildest dreams. You know what I'm saying? You would never ever in your wildest dreams. So, but because he had to take this physical, he had to let them know, hey,
Gotcha.
this is what's going on, and can you please have a female doctor there for me?
That makes sense.
That's just more comfortable. Could you please have? Well, of course, they completely ignored that.
Wow.
And the male doctor they had was totally rude and just abrupt, and it was totally uncomfortable for him. And it was just one of the many things that they did to him because they found out that what he was. They found, once they found out what he was,
they did that on purpose.
Instantly started doing it. But see, as trans people, we can't prove that. We can't prove that they did that on purpose. We just have to accept what is said. You see what I'm saying? We know that they did it on purpose. We know that they were targeting us and being funny, but we can't prove it.
And that's where we're needing
rights come in.
We're needing the rights and the laws without it always having to be like we're doing this for publicity.
It should be
you know what I mean?
like any other situation. And that's why there are laws. That's why companies, do these seminars and shit on harassment and all that. Some of them, on harassment and all that type of thing. It has to get to a point where the onus is on the company to prove that they didn't do it, just like in any other situation. Yeah. It has to get there.
Well, I can tell you the best company I ever worked for, which is how I started really understanding the world that we were in, is when I worked for Apple. And the first thing they said to me was, what are your pronouns? What do you identify for? And I'm at this point, y'all know my statement. I'm an old school dyke, okay? So I was like, Trey? Like, I'm confused. Like, what is it that you want from me? And that's Apple being very, when they say they are inclusive,
progressive.
They fucking mean that shit.
That's
so you're
good.
gonna walk in there, people are able to fulfill their transitions. They have insurance for it. They
That's awesome.
I had a lady a couple times. I've been called a nigger with the ER. Kept my job. Y'all would be proud of me. And then I don't want that gay bitch to help me. And my managers immediately stepped up. But that's just, again, what were we talking about? That was
with the hard ER?
That was the exception, not the rule. They still.
But wait a minute.
What
People
work?
have
Yes, they
said
do.
that to your face that I want that gay bitch working.
Yeah.
Wait, was that in?
That was in the store.
That
Was in the store.
Oh,
Cool.
wow.
So, and my managers, both of those times, were able to step in because they felt like you don't even need to respond. We're going to do that. But again, as I stated, that's the exception. That's not
Absolutely,
the rule.
that's
when
the
it
exception.
should be the fucking rule for these companies to
Absolutely.
Whatever we are, just respect it.
Yeah.
Period.
I agree.
That's the end of the discussion. Like what you lay down with, I ain't have to wake up. What you ate don't make me shit. It don't.
Correct.
What you suck on
That's
don't
what I
make me
said.
come neither. So I don't care.
I've never understood the and I know it comes from religion and societal norms and all this other bullshit. But I'm like, if I'm not sleeping with you, why the fuck would I be worried about what you do in your bedroom? Right. Why am I worried about what is in between your legs if I'm not fucking you? Like I just don't get people's stronghold on that.
Yeah,
I just don't.
It doesn't matter. The sex part of it doesn't matter. All we're trying to do at some point is establish the difference between what the rights are gonna be, and for the people to stop with the agenda. And I need for my alphabet mafia people I need you guys to understand this. As a person who's aged a little bit, everything is not going to be agreed upon.
Yeah.
People can respect you and still not want to be in your space. People can love you and still not fucking understand. It's a part of growth, and I think they need to stop demanding shit. It's probably why I have one of the best relationships with my family, because I was able to really, we all took the steps to really just grow with each other. My mama didn't understand this shit. May she rest in peace. She said, that shit don't run in the family. I love me a big black dick.
What?
And for those watching, y'all did the Saint say that? Did. Okay. But again, that was her. She had to take those steps with a daughter, because you wake up one day, you have a daughter. I was her only daughter. I had all this beautiful hair, and I was like, Mommy, I like girls. I like girls. I mean, I like Method Man. Really, really good. But I like girls, right? And she would have took those steps, and I think had more parents been able to speak to my parents to ask them, like, no, this shit's not easy. Yeah. But if you start with love and acceptance in the home, then we don't have these people walking out here fucking crazy, losing their goddamn mind when they're attracted. So you were attracted, deal with it. Your dick got hard, your pussy got wet, deal with it.
Right.
And if they wouldn't have rejected you, you would have fucked them.
And like Barbie says, though, most of us don't have them kind of parents.
Right.
Yeah.
And we talk about that as well. Like,
that's sad.
It starts in the home. And again, my mother and father, they most certainly didn't understand the shit that I went through. But
what do y'all think about Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade?
What's her name? What's her name? Zaya. I love her.
They're giving freedom, but I also still think parents, they still should parent as well.
Well, I haven't seen any evidence that they're not parenting. Okay. I haven't seen any evidence. All I've seen is them just supporting her.
Very supportive.
You know what I'm saying? And rooting for her and being champions for her and making sure that, you know, she doesn't have to give two shits about what anybody thinks about her.
Do you think they've made her the poster child, kind of like they did with
I don't think that was on them.
Like they kind of did with
Caitlyn. I don't think that's on them. I think they, and this is just my opinion, I think they are being people. They just happen to be celebrities. They happen to have a shit ton of people looking at their ass and caring about when they eat shit and sleep.
Well,
they are ultimately being a family. So I feel like they are, if anything, because of who they are, they're controlling their narrative.
Yeah, and to be fair, if they were shitting on her, then we would be talking about that. Then the community would be in an uproar. That if they were like, we don't support it, blah, blah, blah.
But there are so many people. If the parents were.
Yeah, if Gabby, what the boy name is, Dwayne, if they were over there just not supporting her, then that would be a shit show. And now that they are supporting her, that is a shit show. Well, so I don't think we're ever happy.
If they weren't supporting her, it would be a shit show to the LGBTQ.
Right.
Not to the black.
Right.
Or the straight. Yeah.
Or the straight. They would be fine with it.
They would be completely fine.
Boosie would think that he's on the right track.
Yep.
I still think he goes to sleep and wakes up with dick on his mind.
He has to. He thinks about the most gay shit of all people that I know. He concerns himself with that, really.
He concerns himself. Like, I mean, clearly, it's a favorite pastime.
What you eat does not make me shit, bro. Like, how about this? Tell us some of your wins as the woman that you are. What are some of your accomplishments that you are like most proud of?
Well, I thought for a long time I've always wanted to be an actress, but I didn't think that I could because I was trans. I used to tell my grandmother that I was going to be the first trans woman to win an Oscar for anything. And congratulations to my sister who won the Oscar.
What's her name?
Michelle A.J.
Yeah.
Michelle A.J.
Yeah.
Yes, congratulations, sister. But I used to say that because I always wanted to, and it wasn't until I got comfortable enough to go back to school that I got into theater and I got my first chance to act on stage, and I actually did it, and I actually won like this little competition thing, and
that's so good.
Oh, I can do it, you know what I'm saying? Because it was my first time actually getting to act as the woman that I've always felt like I was. And you know, I did a play or two in at Naaman, but I think that was like, but it wasn't the serious me that I wanted to be. And
I love that.
When I finally got a chance to do it, I thought, yes.
Will you go forward with that? Is that something that you're still pursuing?
It's something that I still like and I still want, but it's like, I think I find myself every time I think about wanting to enter that world and into that, I find myself being pulled more towards the teaching and the giving of information and the advocacy part of it. I'd be wanting to get into the limelight and all that, but I really, it's so many misconceptions about us and who we are and what we are and how we move, and it just makes me want to pull back and straighten all that out first.
No, that's right.
And then I can get into
Move
other stuff. Because it's so much stuff that we have to straighten out. And it's so much, especially to me, the main thing. Because, I don't care about how everybody else move. I care about how Black people move. Which really has me in a downward spiral because we move so fucked up with the LGBT.
Yes, we do.
And I watch how others move with it, like the white folk, how they do with their LGBT, and it's not that big a deal with them. Now, of course, you have those who are way over there.
Who hate everybody.
And just hate. And, of course you have that.
Yeah.
But in general, there's not as much disdain for the LGBTQ community and the white community as there is for the Black.
Absolutely.
And it hurts my feelings because I wish to be pro-Black.
Yes.
I want to be pro-Black. I want to say
Well,
every time
it
somebody, every time a George Floyd happens or a Tamir Rice happens, I get infuriated and I get and tears well up and I get and I want to explode, and then I get angry for somebody like Sandra Bland, find out that she didn't care about LGBT either. So I'm fighting. And hurts to know that George Floyd, where he's still alive and something happened to me, he wouldn't give a damn because he ain't into that.
Yes.
And you know what I'm saying? It hurts to know that.
Yeah.
And
it's
a
conundrum. It's a conundrum to be in, for sure.
I still have to fight for my and people always ask me, because Black people will tell me real quick that I'm Black first. And I just rebut the hell out of that because everything that I am, I was born at the same time.
This is true.
So,
Hold on, say that one more time. That's a
pretty
word
good.
right there.
That is a word.
Say that one more time.
Everything that I am, I was born. This happened. This
At the
hormonal
same
thing
time.
that happened to me that made me feel like I was trans. That was put in my DNA at birth. So
Absolutely.
all of this is all one. There's no separation. You can't separate my trans from my Black because neither one of them happened first.
I know
They were
that's
all.
right.
I
Same
was
time,
feminine
same
as a
time.
young child.
Right.
Yes.
And so even as me growing
And
up
I
as a
was
little boy being
I
feminine,
was a little boy.
that showed you
Yeah.
that was happening to me.
Yes.
And when I got 13 and I started growing titties as a skinny little boy, that should show you something's happening to me.
Right.
So all of these things happened to me at once. So I'm not one before the other, and you can't make me choose. And if you try to make me choose, I'm going to go with the part that doesn't make me choose.
I know
And that's why I
right.
always end up with the LGBTQ over the Black and argue with Black folks because as Black as I want to be, and as Black as I stand behind, I refuse to choose. I'm all of it. I'm Black and trans. And
I mean,
both
it
at the
is.
same time.
It's one of those things. I feel like that we, as a Black community, were very much behind on in a lot of ways when it comes to any part of the LGBTQ community, which is, why there are so many Black youth. I think the numbers are like so far skewed as far as homelessness.
Mm-hmm.
you
Like
quick to kick
it's
somebody
the
out.
largest number
Yeah.
compared to every other homeless youth. It's Black, LGBTQ
Yeah.
teens and stuff who make up the majority of that community, and it's just disheartening. It's disheartening, and I can't imagine. And actually, I can't imagine. You know what I'm saying? It's like I was very, very. I feel like in my past life that I was definitely a, I was a freedom fighter. I was in the Black Panthers, and like the life before this one, that's what I used to. I remember it, and I died fighting. And so I've always been like very militant, but as I really got into it, like when we were doing the Grassroots Salute show, We used to, have a lot of different segments really just centered around, Black power and Black power movements and uplifting Black people and fighting against oppression and all that type of stuff. And then it really did break my heart. And it's not that I have any issues with any of those communities except for the way that they treat women. The violence that is actually built into a lot of these organizations, and it blew my mind and it hurt me. The ignorance that is like interwoven in there, and it comes from religion, it comes from just doctrine about femininity against masculinity and all this bullshit, and we like tear ourselves apart by not supporting one another.
But sis, what that is, it just goes back to everything we've been saying. It's universal violence, pretty much, all against whatever's feminine.
Yeah,
whatever's feminine.
And so, would you think that Abrahamic religion did that? And put this thing.
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about like a lot of the ancient African cultures that were matriarchal. And at some point in time, that changed and shifted, and the world became,
somebody used their brute force strength to overtake
exactly
what they overtook. So they used strength to overtake the intelligence of it, because women think things through. Listen.
I'm trying not to male bash because I love men. I do love men.
But y'all know
men, but white men particularly.
We can't even say we can't even just say that, because we also, because I've had homies in the community, love y'all, but the first thing they would say to me, "Oh, we fuck with you, Sace, because you ain't the same type. You respect yourself as a woman." Who's to say that the other stud, who's just way more aggressive, doesn't respect herself as a woman? Right. This is just the way in which she carries herself. Right. Again, even as old school as I am, I still have whatever quirks. Mm-hmm. But it lets me know that there are some men out there, even in the community, that I would call bro, would have a problem.
We've seen that, haven't we? We've seen like people that we've known for ages. And they
get
say
on there
some stupid ass shit,
and we be like, bash, and I'm like,
what in
you just
fuck?
hugged me, you just called me sis, you just told me that it's all love, and all of a sudden, because I love women, or I can sit right here with Mieko and hug her too, and now it's a problem. And what it comes
this
to,
fucking hip hop community,
toxic.
And Facebook will expose you to that quicker than anything,
because you make as soon as you make that post.
Look, let this swimming thing come up. Mm-hmm. Post that on anybody's page and see what kind of black folk jump out the woodwork and what they say.
I've already seen it, and I've seen, and my timeline is very much like yours. I've seen both sides of the coin.
Right.
I see both sides, and I'm gonna let y'all know. I'm on the side with a young lady. I'm gonna call her a nigga. I'm on the side where she don't need to be swimming with them gals. She don't need to be swimming. So if y'all want to know what say stand on it, she don't need to be swimming yet. She need to lose about 7 more of the muscles that I just got. She need to lose them motherfuckers. Cause that shit unfair. I'm gonna tell you, I would have turned all tables over. Fuck that. I've been swimming since I was 7, ho. And here you gonna do this shit to me? To me? In front of my mama? In front of my mama? Oh. So that's the side say stand on. Oh my God. But this ain't got shit to do with. Oh my God. That ain't hatred. That's just we just trying to be
talking
fair.
about fair. Yeah,
fair. Oh my God.
Equality.
Fuck.
And I'm sure I'm gonna have plenty of people because I've seen
Keisha.
Huh?
Diamond said hey.
Hey, Diamond. Hey, girl. Hey, Diamond. Diamond is from Houston.
Yes,
she is a fucking amazing.
Awesome.
I love her. I love her.
Well, tell us what everybody can do, because what can we do to help support the trans community? It doesn't matter what we identify as, because your struggles that you have to face on a day-to-day basis, those are not our struggles. So how can we help you guys with that outside of just having compassion?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I mean, Compassion goes.
I ain't got no money now. What's up?
I mean, look, compassion goes a long damn way, but also, it's as simple. It boils all the way down to one little dot, and that dot is respect. All you got. Look, when I enter a room and it is divulged that I am trans, I don't expect any female in the room to look at me as the same as they are. I don't expect you to automatically think I'm a woman just because I look the way I look. I don't automatically expect I'm the same as you. I don't expect none of that. All I expect you to do is to see what I'm presenting to you. And respect the pronoun. You see that I'm coming in as a woman. Respect me as a woman. I'm not saying believe that I can have children or believe that I'm the same as your mama or believe that. Yeah. I'm just saying respect what you see. Just like you want somebody, just like it's as simple as people calling themselves after having spent 12 years in medical school, doctor.
Yeah.
I've been doing this, becoming a woman for a long time.
Yes.
Call me she.
Real simple.
That's it. Just respect it. I'm not asking you to believe it or condone it or just respect it. It's the same thing as in just sitting in front of you, me not calling you a funky bitch.
Right.
Oh.
Just don't call me. Just don't disrespect me. All we have to do is respect each other. That's all. And that's what people don't understand. And people actually think that they are. And what's really funny is to see people misgender. Usually when they're misgendering, it's not because they know what's going on. It's because they've been told what's going on.
Yes.
And so now they think they know something about you. And so really what they would normally have said when they looked at me was she or her.
Absolutely.
But now because you know something about me, now you have to go out of your way to say he.
To be disrespectful.
To be disrespectful. And it's going out of your way because it's going out of your way because 9 times 10, just because of the way I'm sitting here looking, you're going to slip up and say she.
Absolutely.
And I've had men do that. Call me she, then say, and correct themselves and say he.
Fucking asshole. That's just some asshole.
I've had that happen. And so that lets me know that you're going out of your way to be disrespectful. When all you have to do is respect what you see, which was what you would have done anyway.
Exactly.
And that's what people don't understand. It's just as simple as respect. We're not asking to change y'all's minds. Y'all will, cisgender people around the world will eventually learn, because the basis of their hate for us comes in the form of religion.
Yes.
And that one thing about religion will transform them into negating all science. And saying that even the science that tells you what we are and why is not true.
Right.
So the basis of this lies in the fact that y'all don't believe we were born this way. Y'all think we chose this. And y'all think we chose to go against the grain.
Yeah. They think you woke up they think you woke up in the morning
and said, oh, okay, I guess I'll be a girl today.
I guess I'm gonna piss off the
world. Yeah, I'm gonna piss off the world and go out and get killed and be a girl today. That's what they think about. They don't think that we, and even though they'll see the shit that we go through, they'll see girls get beat up and attacked and jumped and all that and still come out as women the next day. They'll see that and still think that we're choosing this.
Yeah.
And I always put this to every cisgender person I meet. Mm-hmm. If transgender, if gay, straight, if any of this is a choice, choices are things that everybody can make. Mm-hmm. If it's a choice, then make that choice. Make your dick get hard for this man. If being gay is a choice, then that means you can be gay today.
Right.
Go ahead and be gay. Get attracted to him. Make yourself attracted to him because it's a choice. You can choose to be attracted to him. Not that your body is chemically reacting to it or anything. You can choose that. So go ahead and choose it. I always tell them, if you can choose to be gay, get hard right now for that man.
Right.
And that'll answer the question.
You're going to start. I would implore you, stop asking that. You're going to start a riot one day because you're going to ask that to one of them men and you're going to look over there and he's going to get hard and now we're going to have to bring you out the back. We're going to be bringing you out the back because you didn't expose some shit about hit this nigga. Whoa. That is a great fucking question, guys. Please don't do that shit in public.
What that is, that's
Please
a good
don't
ass
do that
question.
shit in
Now.
public.
That's a great question.
Cause some of y'all need to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
You like it in the
And
All
if
right.
you can't, and look, and if you find that you do get hard, then that answers some questions for you.
So another question that I did want to ask. I don't know how much time we're on, but this is an important question to me. So for our transgender sisters and brothers out there who are going through a transition or they're thinking about transitioning physically, what would you say are like some tips as they're going through that process, some things that they can do, whether it be to help themselves mentally prepare, all that type of stuff. What would you think would help them in that journey, specifically around gaining confidence and building their self-esteem as they go through that transition, understanding what is coming, what they may face?
Number one, okay, let me make my disclaimer. Trans women, trans community, I'm just speaking for me. I'm not speaking for all of us. I don't want y'all to jump on my neck, but this is what I feel it takes to be a trans woman. Just want to say that. So, because I have to make those disclaimers because everybody, we're all different. We're all different. Sure. One thing I think has been a hindrance to, it's been a positive and a negative to becoming trans, is the Medicaid surgeries. The surgeries that are offering free correctional surgeries for transgender people, which will offer the vaginas, they will offer the breast augmentations, facial feminizations. You can do all of this through Medicaid for basically almost free.
Wow.
If you are a transgender person who needs this. Well, what that's caused is what some of us in the community call popcorn girls. Girls that just are men one day and pop up on girls the next day. And transition is not just a physical thing. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, mental soul thing.
You've got to be becoming a woman as your body is becoming a woman. So that means you need to be living, adapting to being, becoming that woman that you feel.
Yes.
Now, there's no right way to be a woman. Okay.
Right.
Let me just say that. You can be a woman.
Clearly.
You can be a woman a million different ways. Yes.
Hello.
But you still need to find that womanhood while
Absolutely.
you are transitioning. And a lot of times what the immediate physical transition does is it makes us look the part instantly, where we haven't learned how to be the part yet.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of tension there. There's a lot of...
Do you think that tension is just within yourself because you haven't done the work?
Well, it's within yourself,
mentally,
but also, and I'll say this. One of the things that is a big problem in our community is girls, and this is for my post-op sisters.
Okay.
There are post-op sisters who are from the very beginning of their life have looked down between their legs and have despised everything they see and could not believe that they were in this body and had to make it right. And those are girls who get post-op surgeries and are completely content and happy with their lives and happy in who they are, as they should be. Because that is the point of the post-op surgery. You have some people who do it because they're told that that's what a transition is supposed to be. They're told that's what the end of it is supposed to be. They're told that's what the ultimate woman is. Some people get it to one up. Oh, I got this and you don't. Some and all of these are wrong reasons to get it. The only right reason to get it is because it absolutely has to be there. But some will get it, because they think it's going to make them a woman. They think that if I get this vagina, then suddenly I'm going to be received as a woman. But that's not the case. You don't walk around with your vagina on your forehead. So people will never know whether you have a vagina or penis. People are never going to know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It depends on how you present yourself. If you present yourself as a woman and people have already respected you and learned that you are a woman and there's no question and people already think you have a vagina,
Right.
that to me is when you hit it's time to get a vagina because you've already grown into that woman. You're already received as a woman. You're already respected as a woman. That's the time. Vagina will not make you a woman because if people didn't already respect your transition before, getting vagina, they're not going to respect it now.
Yeah.
They're going to see you as the same thing they saw you as before. And that's what happens. A lot of times girls get vagina and people and still being called he and him. And how can you possibly call me a he and him and I have a vagina? But it happens. Because they knew who you were before, they know how you are, and they know who you are because you haven't really transitioned into a woman yet.
To demand that respect again.
So I think for me, the key to transitioning is taking your fucking time. Only get those things. Let me tell you something. I had lived as a woman for 5 years before I started getting titties put on my chest. Because I wanted to live as a woman. That's just how I just felt like living as a woman. That's who was in me.
Yes.
I felt I need to go further because I started looking at myself in the mirror and I started to want to see more of a woman. I want to see more of a physical woman than I was looking. I know I felt like one. I know I lived with, but I want to see more. And I was getting respect as one. People were starting to understand that. Even back then, I was an advocate. I was telling people, hey, it's she.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before,
Before,
you know what I'm saying?
pronouns was popular.
Right. Hey, you know what it is. It's she. Don't do me like that.
Yeah.
So I think that for me, it's taking your time and growing into woman because as you grow into woman and you do these things slowly, you'll evolve. It's like a child. When you start your transition, we're like children. We're like little girls. We have to grow into grown women.
And as do we.
Right. But
As do cisgender women.
But see, we don't start growing into women until we start transitioning. So, for instance, Caitlyn Jenner, I'm a much older woman than she is. Now, she's a much older man, but I'm a much older woman than she is.
Amen.
I'm an adult. She's still a child woman.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? She's a little girl,
can't
and
tell
so
her
that's what I
shit,
mean by you have to progress into this.
that
You know what I'm
makes
saying?
sense.
And so I think that the more time you spend not just focusing on the physical, but focusing on trying to live and be that woman that you see inside your mind,
Yeah.
the more she will come to fruition. So that's my advice.
So
Take your time.
how helpful has your family been on this journey? Was it difficult at first and now they're with it, or still difficult? What would you say that plays a part in it?
When I was growing up, I think I was probably about 15 when I asked my mom if I could go for Halloween as a witch, which implied that I need to wear a dress. And not a pretty, not, you know, I didn't want to be Glinda the Good Witch. I wanted to be the ugly bitch with the, you know,
With the green long nose
right.
and shit.
But I wanted to wear a dress.
Right.
A dress. Mom, okay with it. Mind you, Mom, one of her stepfathers was a drag queen. My grandmother was married to a drag queen at one point. Or he did, you know,
How
drag
fun.
performances or whatever. So they were used to that kind of, you know, it was one of them things where they were good friends and they worked at the same barbershop and they said, if we're not married by a certain time, then we're going to get married. And they just did it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was, but they were good friends, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And so my mom loved him and I have his name. So my mom's used to that life.
Got
My
it.
grandmother was in that entertainment life and it was all that. So my dad, homophobic.
Wow.
So while my mom was okay with it, she wanted me to ask my dad. My dad was completely unokay with it. And I mean completely unokay with it. And this is a man who, when I was 12 years old and realized I could actually cut hair, he was driving me home from school one day and was like, so you like doing hair, huh? I was like, You know, people might see you as gay doing that. This is the conversation me and him have while I'm 12. You might be seen the wrong way looking at doing hair and being in beauty, but this is the kind of person he was. Wanted me to play sports, I wouldn't. Wanted me to play football, I refused. Wanted to play, you know what I'm saying? He was one of them. So, mentioning being a witch almost triggered a fist fight between me and him where I accidentally shoved him and it was like my mom had to jump between us and she almost got hit and it was just one of them
One of
more
those.
things.
Yeah.
So never discussed wearing a dress again until I moved out and moved with my grandmother at the age of 18 and ended up getting this job. And for Halloween, I finally said, fuck it, I'm going as a woman.
Yes.
And I went and bought a dress, went and bought a wig and all that, brought it home. And my grandma looked at that wig and said, what is this? You can't go like this. And she took that wig out and chopped it up and layered it, put it on my head and said, now. You go like that.
There it
I
is.
love your grandmother.
Now. And
Shout out to grandma.
And that day when I got up to go to work, she said, you got it, because I didn't know what I was doing. That was my first time. And I put on the wig and put on everything and was ready to go. She's like, no. And she set me down in front of her vanity. She put some blush and some rouge and she did her little thing. And I was like, oh. And that was the best day I'd ever had in my life.
Yeah.
The best day. It was the most normal day I'd ever had in my life. It was the only time I felt like I was walking outside and I was actually normal. I wasn't a freak that was hiding or a freak that was trying to be something. I actually felt that day, as much makeup as I had on, I actually felt that day that I was completely unmasked. Like that was me. This was
beautiful.
who I was. And from that day on, it hadn't changed. Wasn't allowed, after I first started my transition, wasn't allowed at my dad's house for the first 5 years. Because he told me I couldn't come over his house when it was closed. And I said, well, okay, I just won't come.
Boom.
And for 5 or 6 years, I stayed away. And by the next time he saw me, I had titties on my chest. So now it doesn't really matter if I have, if I'm wearing women's clothes. It doesn't matter. I'm a woman anyway, so you're going to have to accept it. You're going to have to chew that one. And at that point, he started trying to get used to it. Now, amazingly enough, he actually corrected someone.
I know that's right.
Yeah, somebody called me. Somebody
love
called me
that.
and he corrected them and said she. And I looked at him like, oh,
Come on, daddy's little girl. Come on, daddy's little girl.
I said we are evolving. Something's
That's
happening.
awesome. But I mean, that's absolutely a thing. I remember when I was with, shout out to Bridget and Nicole, but me and Bridget were together for 9 years. You know what I'm saying? And when I don't know what the experience of being in a closet was like. I was like, this is what I'm fucking doing. Like, this is what I love.
She woke up and
This
chose
is
violence.
and some people in my family, flipped out about it. They flipped the fuck out. And I was like, what are y'all talking about? I'm still Keisha. So, like, what the fuck? Like, why does it matter who I'm sleeping with?
Right.
Yeah. At the end of the day. And eventually, all those family members who had a problem, they became our biggest champion. And you better not say nothing bad about neither one of us.
Exactly.
But what it shows is that people can grow.
Right.
And eventually they find out like, oh, this is the same motherfucker that I love.
Well,
like this thing that I know about them now or realize about them does not change them
Same person.
as a
But
person.
we still have to, and I think even though it was a long time for your father to come around, we still have to, as the ones that are quote unquote different, we need to give them the space to do what they need to do instead of
to
stressing ourselves out.
Yeah.
And
They have to
saying,
transition too.
That's it.
you don't love me for who I am, and I want to. It's just you gonna be stressed. They gonna be stressed. The relationship ain't gonna never get better, and sometimes the space is needed. Now I'm pretty sure. I'm both my parents out of here, so on those days that your father doesn't get to see you, he probably is pissed off at himself for the 5-6 years that he missed. So again, it goes back to what I've been saying. It goes into the home. I am as confident as I am in who I am because my parents supported this shit.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure because you know your mama talked to her sisters about it goddamn thing. I'm pretty sure my mama was like, I think that little girl go that way. And they have those conversations, but people just need to understand the transitions that everybody has to go through.
Yes.
And it goes back to the point that Mieko said. It's all about respect.
Yeah.
It's about respect.
If you can respect it, you don't have to agree with it, but I can respect it. I guess when
We're shouting out all of our high schools.
I also want to shout out Grandma Mieko.
Yes,
Grandma.
I'm waiting on her about that.
I just want to let Grandma know because I know it's gonna touch her just a little bit. Like I ain't got no more grandmamas, but I like sweets and cognac. And she told me about some bourbon bottles that you got, and I just want to talk to you for a second.
We would love to try the bourbon balls so that we can.
Just let me know. I cash app you. I Zelle you. What you need me to do?
Get you in touch with her immediately.
Yes.
So can you just shout out Grandma because Grandma is the one who gave you your first normal day as who you are.
And she's fabulous. I'm gonna tag Mieko. Make sure y'all friends, and you have got to see her grandmother. You're gonna be like, okay, I get
because
it.
she
so
also
fabulous.
is the first who's read my book, and she's the one who keeps telling me, "Go ahead, publish. It's perfect." Wait
a minute. So we gonna go through a whole. Okay.
Yeah, she's gonna.
But let's shout out Grandma, and then we're gonna get into the book.
Grandma Didi. Everybody calls my grandmother Grandmama Didi. Everybody who calls her Grandma Didi. So Grandma Didi, they want some bourbon balls.
Please
do.
Please.
Please. Yes, ma'am.
So
yes, ma'am.
Information. D's Delectables.
D's Delectables. Shout out to D's Delectables.
Facebook.com.
I don't know how to feel about that name. I feel like that's gonna melt in my mouth.
Yes, and I want to make sure they get that information.
Beautiful.
Yes, that woman is the reason for Mieko. She's the first person to bring Mieko out.
I love that.
That's the reason. So
beautiful.
I absolutely adore her. And that's another reason why I get infuriated when I hear this, transgender women don't like cisgender women. I live for these women. These are the women that I want. That woman is probably somebody I actually secretly try to pattern my life because she's done everything. She's been in movies. She's been on the city council. She's run for mayor. She's done everything you can possibly want to do. And I look to women like that.
Yes. And so you're just not going to listen to her about publishing your book. So you thought you was just going to slap that in.
Because I'm still freaked out, and I still feel like I have to beef it up. I'm a Virgo, and we are our own worst critics.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Get over yourself. You're right. It's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful book. Because she said she was a Virgo. That's how I know. It's a beautiful book. Your grandmother said it. So when are you going to get out your own way?
Right.
And heal somebody else with your story.
I'm going to. I am. Yeah. And it's coming soon. And Tyronica.
Everybody. Shout out to Tyronica. Hey, girl.
This is the most interesting podcast we've done.
We are shouting out all of our amazing. There were some amazing women that we went to high school with.
We did. Oh,
amazing freaking women doing amazing things. So when they pop up, we're shouting them out. Say, sir.
It ain't my fault that y'all 87 years old.
We barely seasoned. Anywho.
No, y'all seasoned. Y'all been in the oven for a little while. y'all been in the oven for at least y'all was on low. At like 275. And look, at least 275. Now, just because y'all look 22, that don't mean shit.
Anywho, how much time have we spent?
A lot.
Are we way over? Oh, okay.
Oh, we sorry.
Oh, we there.
So shout out to everybody we got to shout out. That's Keisha's job to shout out everybody.
So big shout out to All Over Media, of course. If it wasn't for Caution, hooking us up, doing his thing, some of this shit wouldn't be happening with the excellent quality that it happens in. I'm your girl, Mocha Soulfly. You can follow me, MOKAHSOULFLY. Also, Vodka and Cognac, spelled just like that. Alsace Carcerone is at
D. Casa what? Casa what? Casa what? Not my sister. Not my sister.
It's the alcohol, man. Alsace Carcione. That ain't what I said.
She gave a new name, y'all. She said Casserone and became a casserole in an Italian family.
Alsace Carcione. Where can these people follow your ass?
Shit, I'm at the Alsace, and I might be at your lady house, and she might be calling me Big Daddy. But just to go on past it to my
Mieko.
Tell people how we can. Beautiful Mieko. Tell us how we can find you.
How can we
find me on? It's very simple. Mieko Hicks. MIEKOHICKS. That's on Facebook. That's really the only place I be. But
you don't be on the TikToks.
You know what? I haven't made a TikTok yet. I should, but I haven't.
You
made
should.
You should,
I
you
should.
should.
You can drop a lot of gems and get some extra.
I think I'm
chochos.
gonna make me a TikTok.
You
They,
should.
you know, they had me scared with Chinamans and all that.
Don't you worry about that.
But
Don't you worry about that. You released the book. You released the book.
Get that
and do a
shmoney.
TikTok.
Get that shmoney.
Well,
But we love you.
And what are they
Yeah.
gonna? What's gonna be next for you?
now be looking for, because me and my daughter Pocahontas.
Okay.
Again, we were with Transfusion Radio, and we talked about everything transgender, and we are considering bringing that back.
Okay.
We don't know if we're going to bring it on what platform we're going to bring it. If it's just going to be video, radio, whichever. But we are.
She looked at you.
looking-
She looked at you like, "What's up?"
we are looking to bring it back. So, Pocahontas, you'll let me know what's going on, and I'll let you all know what's going on whenever it happens. But y'all all will still be getting lives anytime anything
That's all I was about to
transgender
say.
happens.
Follow Mieko.
I'm going to
'cause-
live.
And I love tapping in and tuning into your lives because, like I say, I just feel like we're cut from the same cloth and just, in the same, on the
think
same
it's silk.
wavelength.
I think y'all ain't even got Klaus. Y'all got silk. But shout out to everyone
We
that's
got silk.
listening to this. We
Can't
might have to
stand
break
her
this up
ass.
in segments. I don't know, but Mieko, I really appreciate
We
you,
love you.
for being here, for being a wonderful,
you.
wonderful. She was basically a co-host. So
I love it.
She wasn't even a guest. She was just a co-host. We had
thank you.
3 hosts. So shout out to all y'all. Be fair. Love each other.
Yeah.
Suck on each other.
Respect one another. I can't stand
It's
it.
the cognac.
And she's a Scorpio. Don't mind her.
Yeah.
That's what happened. She's a Scorpio. But anyway, peace out, y'all. We love y'all. Make sure you follow Mieko, follow me, follow Alsace, Vodka and Cognac
Bye.
on all over media.
Yeah.